Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening and welcome to Believe in the Journey podcast, where I am your host, Triveda Harris. And I have a very amazing guest tonight, Miss Elizabeth, and we're going to talk to her about her journey from through trials to triumph. And it's an amazing story. You guys do not want to miss it, but you know we can't do anything without going to God in prayer. So let's do that. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together as you do each and every time we're in front of you. Let the words of my mouth fall upon the ears that need to hear. Let those who are struggling with anything that they can't handle on their own, let them know that they can lay it at your feet and you will take it from there. They don't need to do anything else but be patient and let you work it out on their behalf, because there are things that we don't know that you already have gone ahead and fought and won that battle for us. So allow us to be patient with you and let you do the work that only you can do. So let us go to the conversation that you will lead as you do each and every time we are in front of you. So let the words of our mouths fall upon the ears that need to hear. Let it lead others to you in a way that they may be falling distance or falling short and don't know how to get to you. Let us be those vessels that bring them closer to you. In your precious and holy name, Jesus, I pray. Amen. All right. Hello, Miss Elizabeth. How are you doing tonight?
I am very blessed to be here. How are you?
I am good, and I thank you for being here.
Well, thank you
I
for
want
this
you to go
opportunity.
ahead and introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into the conversation.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Meggs. I am a inspirational speaker, transformational life coach, also known as the Miracle Power Empowerment Coach. And I'm just so very blessed to be here. I'm also a best-selling author and just blessed to be able to deliver a message of hope and healing to empower others to be able to overcome and rise above their obstacles so that they can find the same peace and freedom, life of fulfillment and abundance that I have.
And that is a beautiful way to put it. Now, my first question I'm going to ask is that you had a devastating car accident while you were in high school that led you down this journey that is significant for your triumphs, but your trials is what led you here. So can you give us a little bit of background about that and how your life changed?
Yes, so 25 years ago, at the age of 14, I was chasing my dreams. I had been singing and performing for over half my life, was known for my voice, and everything was moving full speed ahead for me to move to Nashville to pursue a career in country music as soon as I graduated high school. I, my voice was my identity, and
Mhm.
it was effortless, and my life was easy. I was popular, play every sport, and everyone wanted to be my friend. But then one week into my freshman year of high school, my entire world came crashing down around me.
Mhm.
I was injured in a car accident where I suffered a traumatic brain injury that left me fighting for my life. I was given less than a 25% survival rate. The doctors were basically preparing my family for my death because it wasn't looking like I was going to survive. But after 3 weeks of being in the coma, I woke and essentially had to relearn how to do everything. It was 3 full months of intensive hospitals and rehabs before I made it back home for good. Once back home, this was when I discovered the biggest challenge that I would ever face, because I was no longer that same independent, popular cheerleader, singer songwriter, play every sport. I was facing challenges every single day. I dealt with judgment, I dealt with rejection from people that would see something physically wrong with me and
Mhm,
decide that I wasn't worth their time.
mhm.
It was so very difficult. I knew that everything would be better if I was no longer here, if I hadn't survived the accident, and I would actually beg God to take me from the earth because I knew everything would be easier.
That's a thought that I think most people have when they deal with something that's life changing like that. I can say I had those thoughts. I had a stroke in 2009 and had to learn how to speak again and use
Mhm,
my left side. So I can relate to that. And you do go through those thoughts and things of that nature. And it's like, okay, God, what is it that why would I be in this position? Like, what did I do to
mhm.
be dealing with this? So
Yeah.
that's
It,
definitely one of those things where it's like, okay, God, what is it? Why me? What
mhm.
is this? But there was something inside of you that you didn't even know that you had in you.
Right.
And talk about
I
that.
so I would come home from school multiple days a week for over 4 years until my parents said I should have died. I wish I was dead and I want to kill myself. Found myself on my knees screaming at the top of my lungs, crying out to God, beating my fists into the floor, asking him why he did this to me. What did I do to deserve this? But that's when I would receive an answer, and it came in the form of a voice on my heart that brought me an overwhelming amount of comfort and peace, which was just exactly what I needed in that moment. A peace and comfort that was divine.
Yeah.
And the voice said, I have a plan for you. You can't stop. You have to keep going. I knew in that moment that there was a reason that I was still here. He
Yeah.
was calling me to become exactly who he created me to be so
Yes.
that I could help others going through the same struggles, through the same suffering, that felt alone, that felt invisible, felt like a nobody, felt like
Mhm.
weren't worthy of anyone loving or being in their life. Because that's the way I felt. I saw myself when I looked in the mirror. I saw myself through the eyes of the people who judged and rejected me. I saw an ugly monster.
Mhm.
And so, but God loved me enough to hold me and to pick me up every time I fell down and felt like I couldn't keep going. He would give me the strength to keep fighting. And
God
yeah.
God has a way of touching you in a way that it makes you understand. And I,
Mhm,
I know that there may be still days where you have those feelings when something is getting a little harder, you get a little frustrated with things. Cause I know I still have my moments where it's like, okay, especially when the pain is a little bit unbearable, it's like, okay, God, what else is left with this?
mhm.
Because what else am I supposed to be showing with what I'm going through? Like, have you ever had this moment in where you're like, God, what is all of this for? And you're like, if I'm supposed to continue, send me a sign. And he sends you a sign, there's someone else. Have you had a moment like that?
I've had many moments like that. I 20 years after my accident, I found
Mhm.
myself in a toxic relationship,
Okay.
toxic marriage, where I was being verbally and emotionally abused.
Mm,
As God was opening doors for me to continue my speaking and touching the lives of those who were right suffering the same place I once was,
mhm,
my ex husband would tell me that no one would ever pay me to share my story. The only financial security I would ever have would be through my degree as an occupational therapist. But the thing with that was that my heart was no longer, I was no longer being fueled by doing my degree, that
Mhm.
job. I was being fueled when I would get up on a stage or speak to one of my patients and providing hope, or one of my one on one clients, providing hope and helping them to find a way out.
Right.
But God's voice was always so much stronger, brought me
Mhm.
comfort and peace, didn't have any of the chaos and confusion like my ex husband's voice brought.
Mhm.
And April of 2023, God basically brought someone back into my life who had been in my life 6 years earlier. I hadn't
Mhm.
seen this person in over 4.5 years. And I thought to myself, okay, God, if you need me to leave, I need you to give me a sign.
Mhm.
24 hours, no signs came. 36 hours, I received the sign. And I was just like, okay, God, I got it loud and clear. Now, if you need me to leave, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I need you to help make a way if that's what you need. I
Exactly.
prayed to him as soon as I got the sign. But I've learned that it doesn't happen one way. He
No.
doesn't do all of the work. He moves mountains, but it takes you moving to the door or the window so that you can see the mountains being moved and know the next steps forward. So
Yeah.
as soon as I got done with that prayer, I called my boss at the hospital where I worked as they needed me. It wasn't anything full time. And I was like, okay, I explained my situation and I said, I need to see if I can transfer back to Waco
Mhm.
because I have to get out. I can't stay here because if I stay here, God basically told me, if you stay in this marriage, you're not ever going to be able to fulfill my will for your life.
Right.
And so less than an hour later, my boss gave me a call. I was able to transfer from Dallas back to Waco. And the next 24 hours, I found a place that I could afford to live. And within 4 days, he made a way where there was no way.
And that's what God does. You
Yep.
have to have undeniable faith and trust
Mm-hmm.
in Him.
Yep.
Because if you ask Him to give you a sign, He's
Mm-hmm.
going to give you that sign.
Yep.
But you got to be willing to move when He says move. And that's been one of the hardest things, I think, for most people to do,
Mm-hmm.
is because they'll reject the answer that God gives when they pray, because
Right.
it doesn't look like what they expect it to look like,
Exactly. Exactly.
and
Well,
he can't
it,
do that.
that it also takes learning how to live open to all of the possibilities.
Yes.
Like 25 years ago, or at the age of 7, my dream was being on a stage, but it
Mhm.
was singing, using my
Yeah.
voice and being on a stage to touch people.
Mhm.
Um, my dream is still the same, being on stages, but it's not singing. It's connecting with my voice and letting him speak through me so that I can help empower, encourage, and be the voice of hope for everybody in this world, just as he was the voice of hope for me all those
Exactly.
years ago.
I was telling a coworker yesterday, as a matter of fact, we were talking about how God has a great sense of humor. And it was a joke that I saw in the comic when I was about 12 years old. And it was, if you ever want to know how God's sense of humor works, is tell him your plans and watch how he changes them.
Yep,
And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you may have plans for the next day or whatever, or you may have plans for the future and you may have it planned out a certain way. And just like you said, your plan was to be on stage and to use your voice to sing. God is using your
yep,
voice to be on stages, but it's not for singing. And you would have
exactly.
never even thought of it in that way. And God is God all by himself, and the plans that he has for us is exactly what it
Yep,
is. He never has made a mistake in the
mm-hmm,
plans that he has for us. It's just for us to be obedient to his
exactly.
instructions. And
Yep,
when we can be obedient, God knows that he has us the way that we want. We get distracted. We try to
mm-hmm,
do our own thing sometimes. And God is like,
He
I'm gonna let
comes
you go
chasing
ahead.
after
Yeah.
us. He comes chasing after us. Nope. I made the choice to get in that marriage, but he knew that was going to happen. And that's why in
Mhm.
2017, he brought someone into my life. It was
Mhm.
actually the first person who ever truly saw me. It was the first
Mhm.
outsider who actually saw my heart and believed in me and wouldn't let me forget it. And 2 months after I met this person, he spoke to me about him and he said, I brought you two together to bring you both closer to me. You have to tell him this. You have to tell him that you love him and I love him. I'd known this person for 2 months.
Oh
Was
wow.
I afraid to tell him? No, because when God speaks to you audibly, you have absolutely
No
no
choice.
doubt in your mind that it's from God. That
Right.
that peace and comfort that he brought me in high school was like 1,000 times amplified when he spoke to me audibly.
Mhm.
So it was just, yeah. So it's just the way he moves. He's always right there beside you. He's going to
Yes.
come to the rescue. But again, you have to be willing to turn to him.
Yes. And
I,
whenever you are praying and asking God for certain things and certain directions or whatever the case may be, understand that what you see is
mhm,
definitely going to be a little different than what God sees. And He's still going to get you in the space in which you want to go, but He's going to multiply that in different ways. Like
mhm,
me doing this podcast was not something I saw, but he's sent me visions, like you have vivid dreams. And whenever you have
mhm.
vivid dreams, those
Yep.
are God sending you those
Yes.
signals.
Yep.
And I was cleaning up one day and just out of the blue, I got this random vision. And it was like, okay, you're going to be in front of a podium speaking to people. And I'm like, God, I think you delivered that to somebody else. That's not for me. And it was like, no, this is for you. So this is what I need you to do. And I hadn't even written a book at all at this
Mhm.
time. So it was like, God, I think you have gotten me mixed up with somebody else. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But here I am now doing exactly what I've been
Yep.
shying away from. But it was like, no, this is what I need you to do because this is what I've called you to do. There's something that I need you to share with other people and the
Mhm.
people that you come in contact with. And so it's like, God, okay, I'm not sure if I'm doing it the right way. And it's always the confirmation each and
Yep.
every time that I do this, and each and every
Yes.
guest that I have. Like we were talking earlier about you doing a conference that you had submitted a video for, and they didn't accept it. But you're still going to be accepted in where God wants you to be, where you need to be, and how. And it's like every guest that I have is the confirmation that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not by coincidence, it's always by God's design. And so so it's one of those things that if you are really obedient and really take the time to listen to what God is telling you, you're never going to be off course. It may get hard, but go ahead. Hmm. Right, right. Hmm. Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Mhm. 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 Oh, exactly. Yeah. Mhm. Yes, that I agree with that 100%. Were there things that you did on a regular basis that helped you even in those dark times and those hard moments? The one thing that you did say that you went to bed with a grateful heart. What other things did you do that helped you? Mhm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. I think that plays a major part too, having a great support system because I can say for me when I had my stroke and then had my flare up with my condition and I lost my ability to speak, it was one of those things where I was able to okay, I'm reading a chat in here. I got something for you at the end, so be excited about that. But anyway, um, it was one of those things where my family was very supportive of me. My children mainly. I know I'm not the easiest patient when it comes to um, doing what I'm supposed to at all. So my kids were not willing to allow me to sit in my misery, so to speak. And I didn't realize this is something I had told my kids when they were younger. And you don't really think little kids are paying you any attention when you tell them things. And so I didn't pay it any attention. So my kids were about 12, 7, and 5. And so I told them that when you are going through life, you're going to have a bunch of emotions that are going on in life. The one that you spend the most time in, whether it's happiness, sadness, mad, angry, whatever, if that's the one that you focus on the most and give that energy to that, that's where you're going to be. And so when I was going through and I lost my ability to speak, doctors not really knowing what's going on and trying to get answers, I come home from the doctor. My boys have been outside playing, and my oldest son came in the house, and I was telling him, and then I was so frustrated at them being upbeat and happy that it was making me angry. And so my son turns to me, and at this time he's like 13, and he was like, well, it's your fault that we're this way. And I'm like, what do you mean it's my fault that y'all are like this? He said, you told us that the emotion that we give the most energy to is the one that controls us. So either you're going to be mad about what you're going through, you're going to be sad about it, or whatever. But whatever you choose, it wins. So I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you 30 minutes for you to have your little pity party. After that, we're going to move on from this. And I couldn't say anything because number one, I was shocked that he remembered that I said it. Number two, I was like, okay, um, I guess I got 30 minutes to get myself together and move on from this. And that's basically what I did, and it was like, "Okay." I had my pity party, and that's really what I give myself permission to do now, is I'll give myself 30 minutes to feel whatever emotion it is that I'm feeling. If I feel frustrated, like my body's hurting, I'm in a lot of pain, I don't know what to do, this is just too much to bear, I give myself 30 minutes to feel that. And then it's like, okay, God, what is it that I need to do after this? Because I know my time is not up. This is not what I need to be doing. But what's the confirmation that I need to move out of my little pity party? I can sleep on it tonight. And so, what I've learned for me, and this is what I do every night, is I write in my journal. I write it's basically like a dear God letter every night in my journal. And so I'm like, God, I'm dealing with this. I don't know which way I'm supposed to go. So I'm gonna hand it to you and then allow you to give me direction. Now I have to tell you that God, I'm still a little stubborn and I'm still a little hard headed, and you know this about me. So, just if I'm not doing what exactly you're telling me to do, go ahead and nudge me and make sure that I stay on the right path. Because, we'll go off on our own little tangent and trying to do our own little thing. And God is like, no, you're on the wrong path. Get back over here because I didn't tell you to go down that way. You took a left and I told you to take a right. So, get back over here. But your story of resilience, um, not just resilience, but strength, determination, and focus to show that just because it looks like it's not going to get any better, that there's more to come. And you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And just that alone shows that God isn't finished just because it may look like it's over. God has so much more. And if you trust Him to give you the strength, to get through, he's going to show you just what you can do. Because I feel like this God gives us everything that we need. And it's up to us to figure out what he's placed in us. And go ahead. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. 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 Mhm. Mm, yes. It's what you do with it. Mhm. Exactly. Mhm. And I'm grateful for it. Because it's like it sounds like, you never gave in. Yeah, you were having those moments of, "God, why me? Why me?" But you deep down, you knew that there was a greater purpose, and you were trying to get God to tell you in that instant right then, like, "Tell me why." And yes. Yeah. Mhm. No. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Yep. Right. Yep. That is the thing, and I agree with that 100%. The reason is because I know when I'm facing opposition or a challenge that, and especially if I feel uncomfortable. When I'm uncomfortable, I know that there is something that God is about to do. And when I get too comfortable, it's like, oh, I'm not doing something right. But the instant I'm uncomfortable, it's like, okay, God, what is it that I need? And I say that life is full of puzzle pieces, and each piece is connected to where we're going, and so we got to collect those pieces to see the bigger picture. But if God was to show us everything that we were going to go through right then when we asked him, a lot of us would not fall, we would not follow suit. We would quickly back away because be like, nah, I don't want to go through that. I was telling my sister the other day, like, she always wants to get to the finish line, but she doesn't want to go through any of the hard stuff to get there. And I'm like, baby, it doesn't work like that. You may be wanting to go directly across the street, but to get there, you got to go down. It's the little embankment. It's a little steep little hill. You got to climb over that. It might be a puddle at the end of that hill, so you might get a little dirty, but you still got to go across the street, and there's no easy detour around that to get across the street. You just got to do it. And if you want to get there, you got to go through it. And she's like, but sis, I don't want to do any of that. No one cares. If you prayed and asked God to get you where you want to go, you got to go through some things. And she was she was frustrated because she was doing, like, she had a job or something she was working with, and she was like, she didn't understand why she was going through such opposition and so much struggle. And I was like, well, there's some things that you're not ready for right now. And since you're not ready for it, God is putting you through the test in order to see if you're really ready for it. And if you keep repeating it over and over again, then you're not ready. You haven't passed the test. The only way to get to the other level is if you pass the test. So if you're repeating it, you're not passing because you haven't learned the lesson. And God's not going to put you in a bigger position if you can't pass the one that you're on. Mm. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Right. Mhm. Where? Mhm. Okay. Exactly. Mhm. It's always good when you know that God has your back like nobody else. And that's one of the things that I say, that God knows that we're gonna have our stupid moments, and He accounts for those for us. Yes, so if you know that God accounts for your stupid moments, just don't get carried away with making too many of them. But He's gonna get you where you need to go. And sometimes our own stubbornness and our own hard-headedness gets us in situations where it's like, God, I know I should have listened to you, but what do I do now? And He's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna do that. Just be patient. I got something coming up for you. Just hold your horses. And that's usually what happens in those situations. Go ahead. Yes. Okay. 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 Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Yes. Mhm, mhm. It does. Mhm. Yeah. God has that sense of he definitely is. But I look at it like this. It's like I prayed a prayer in 2019, and my prayer was to remove the people who were not connected to my destiny and bring the people who were connected to the plans that he had for me. And when I tell you, I didn't understand that I was gonna lose people that were important to me, but I also prayed for me to be okay if he did remove those people because they were necessary. And when I tell you the circle of people that I have around me now, it's mind blowing because those people pour into me like I am never depleted, and I can always pick up the phone or send a text or a message, and somebody hears me when I'm silent. They hear me when they haven't seen me post on social media. They're checking in. Are you okay? Is anything wrong? Do you need anything? And sometimes I might need something. Sometimes I'm just, taking a break from social media, but it's great to have people like that, and having that source of uh, energy that is positive and being able to speak life into you versus them focusing on the negative. And I'm in a space now where if the conversation is more negative, I remove myself away from it because it's like you're not about to get me in that space because I don't want no parts of it. If we can't talk about something positive, then we can't talk at all because I don't got time for it, you know? Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Right, right. Yep. Holding on to 'em. Yep, holding on to people that you've probably been friends with since grade school and things of that nature, people that you've known your whole life. You have to be okay when God says it's time to let that person go because he hears those conversations that we don't hear, that they're speaking about us, and so being okay with that. What is something that you wanna leave our guests with tonight? What advice would you leave them with? Mhm, 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 mhm. I like that, and that's good advice. Now, I mentioned to you that I have something for you, and I want to know, would you like to be a speaker at Matters of the Heart that is coming up, I believe, in April or May? So, would you want to be a speaker? It's virtual. All right, I will get you more details later this week on the date and the time and everything, but we would definitely love to have you. Listen, like I told you at the beginning, it's always a greater purpose because what may have been a denial in one sense is always a door opening that God wanted you to be in a different space. And that's what it's always about because God never puts people together that aren't by his design. And so someone else said no, but God always says yes. So that's the thing. But I want to thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing your journey and sharing your story because you definitely reach more people than you ever imagined, even in passing. Just being able to share and speak and being in your presence sometimes whether you're saying anything or not is enough to let them know that there's a greater on the side of what it is that they're going through right now. So continue to be an inspiration, continue to be a light, continue to share everything that God allows you to share with those you come in contact because I am grateful that you are here with me tonight. Yes. And you guys, I thank you for tuning in tonight. And I cannot do anything without saying this one thing, and that is stay obedient to what God tells you to do. Stay out of God's business. The only thing He needs you to do is be obedient to what He's called you to do. Until next time, I'll see you guys back on Thursday, March the 27th. Good night.